Ladies and gentlemen, Gene DiNapoli.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli. Today is December 21st, a few days away from Christmas. Want to wish our Jewish faith followers a happy Hanukkah, our Christian and everybody else, Merry Christmas in a couple of days. Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody here. Thank you, Eric DeLauro. Love it. We got a great show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But first, of course, we want to talk about our sponsors. These are friends of ours and businesses that we'd like you to somehow support starting off with Dream Destinations Travel, Sun-Drenched Cruises, Howard and Karen. They're the best in travel, destination weddings, and vacations. You see their website on the top. Next, for those of you that are into CBD oils, sweetheal.com. Mention my name, get 20% off all orders and a free gift. After that, for those of you that are in need of a great CPA, Francisco, the creative CPA, transfrancisco.com. Mention our podcast, get a free consultation. Next up, Pure Organic Dry Cleaners, 3166 East Tremont Avenue. Mention my podcast, pay for 3 items, get the 4th one free. After that, if you can't be with family members face-to-face and friends this season, the best way to show you love somebody and like them is to send a gift basket from Anthony's Gift Baskets. Their information is on our page as well. And then we have 2 restaurants who I'm very close to. One that I get to play very often called San Martino in Yonkers. San Martino's been there for 46 years. We're there pretty often. And then a newcomer to the show, Angelina's Restaurant and Brick Oven Pizza in the town of Tuckahoe, New York. All our sponsors' information are on our page, Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli, under the tab that says offers. So check them out for all the information you need. Want to say hello to Anthony, our producer behind the scenes, and let everybody know we see the comments. Hi, everybody. We'll get to you very closely. But, you know, it's amazing how much I learned as a student of music. I think I know everything there is about everything, but unfortunately I don't. So when I get a guest on this show and I do my due diligence, I find out things I never knew. Like we had Ron Dante from the RGs a couple of weeks ago, and he comes from Staten Island. I come from the Bronx, and this gentleman that's with us tonight is another New York boy from by way of the Queens-Brooklyn border. So, ladies and gentlemen, and Anthony, will you do as every week we do, please bring in our guest, the ever-youthful and hit maker known as Mr. Brian Hyland. Come on in, Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Had a power outage about 25 minutes ago, but it came back on.
And that's what happens when you live in the mountains. We don't have power outages here in the Bronx and Queens, but you live by way of California in a part where the desert is.
That's right. It's the high desert in between Victorville and Barstow. It's San Bernardino County. The desert is huge up here, and this is the high desert where it doesn't really get that hot or that cold. But if you live in the low desert, for instance, like in Palm Springs, in the summer, you wake up and it's already 107 degrees.
Right. And you get a lot of sandstorms.
They do. Yeah, they do. Especially, that's really kind of a drag if you're driving up to Las Vegas and got a flight that you got to catch. And that's where I usually fly out of. And, that can be a real drag.
Right. How long are you in California, Brian? How long has that been?
Pretty much since the 1960s, I've lived out here, and I lived in a couple of other different places. I lived in New Orleans for a while, lived up in Oregon for a while, and wow. So I, travel around and different. But California is like I love it. I love California.
Right. And I could see that you picked places New Orleans, Oregon, Barstow, that reminisce of Queens. I could see how it all ties in together, right?
I guess so. I never thought about that.
So you were born in Woodhaven,
Correct.
Queens, Brooklyn, and right off the bat, you knew music was your calling. Was anybody in your family musically inclined?
Well, I have 6 brothers, 1 sister, and my mother was always singing around, humming, and singing around the house when she was doing her housework. And but my oldest brother plays the trombone, and the brother right after him, my brother Ken, he was like he taught me a little bit on the ukulele. That kind of started me off into like stringed instruments. And then my aunt bought me a banjo, or it was hers, I guess. She gave it to me, and it was a real good banjo. And years later, I found out it was a very expensive one. It was a Vega, Vega banjo. And anyway, I strummed on that for a while. But then, like when I saw Elvis on the TV show the first time with the Jackie Gleason summer replacement show, I think it was, and the Dorsey brothers, I think, and they. And once I saw Elvis, I mean, it was all over. I wanted to get a guitar.
And you did?
Yes, I did, yeah.
And you did. And, I got to tell you, Brian, you must be somewhat of an Elvis fan, because a lot of people don't realize that the Dorsey Brothers show was a summer replacement for the Jackie Gleason show. So you are a student of that, which is great. So now you get a guitar. How did you tell your aunt you didn't want to play banjo anymore?
I never did. I never told her. No, I didn't.
That's great. So now you had a harmony group called the Delphis. Was that all just vocals, or were you also instruments as well?
Vocals, and but I had my guitar. I had this really cheap little guitar, and so I would use that when we were like when we had a place where we could practice, where it was like not in the subway station or it was the L station. But because in Woodhaven, where I lived, it was just the L trains on Jamaica Avenue. Right. And people that know about that area, they know that. And so we would practice there. Different places, people's houses, and so it was. That was the thing, And I got to tell you that lately, I'm doing a lot of like shows, doo-wop shows on the East Coast, down in Florida, all over the place, and I love to. The backstage thing is great there, because like everybody's practicing all the time. You can hear from different dressing rooms. You can hear different songs, and they don't need a band when you got a a cappella group. And
absolutely,
that's a cool thing. Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. Now, when you were with the Delphis, what type of stuff did you do?
We just did the songs that we were hearing on the radio, basically. Like for instance, I saw one of your guests was Vito Piccone. Yeah. And that was his tune. Like we love to do that one. And as soon as we started the opening line of that, like the local girls would all come around and say, "Oh, what's happening here?" So that was a nice introduction to meeting people too. But we just did a lot of the songs that were on the radio.
Right. And you did gigs here in Queens and Brooklyn. You did.
No. I was telling someone today that. The first time that I ever worked with a band actually backing me up was when I recorded my first record, or basically I did some demos before that and the band that was in the recording studio, and I usually used Allegro Studios, which was in 1650 Broadway in the basement, I think. And so that was, I was totally inexperienced as far as, working with a band or anything like that. And of course, I learned pretty quick.
Yeah, well, you had to. You had to learn pretty quick, because you wound up getting signed right off the bat by Cap Records.
Right.
And you had a little regional hit, which I happen to like because it was my mother's name, Rosemary.
Right,
So I knew that song when I was growing up. My mother would play that. Now we got Anthony, put the promo picture up. So, Brian, when was this?
Looks like 1962. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Nice. Now that, of course, was after Itsy Bitsy.
Right. That was a series of pictures that they took. It was a really good photographer there in New York. He used to take pictures of everybody. He had a gigantic list of people that he took pictures of, and his name was Maurice Seymour, and he was really good. He had these really huge cameras, like it was gigantic, and the negative was probably about an 8x10 negative, actually.
Wow.
And but anyway, that was that he was the guy. And that in 1962, that picture they used that when I was going out, and I had the song "Sealed with a Kiss,"
right,
and that was it that same year.
So everybody knows you for your mega hit, but it's one thing to have a mega hit, but it's another thing to have it associated with a certain time of the year. Now, Christmas songs. Bing Crosby, Elvis, Sinatra, certain songs are always played from Thanksgiving to Christmas Day.
Right.
Your song, Itsy Bitsy, Teeny Weeny, Yellow Polka Dot Bikini, is the perennial favorite. And so from now until the end of the earth, when the earth finally explodes and dinosaurs come back to our land, your song will be played every summer, all year long, but every summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So that puts you in a different category of other people. So how do you feel knowing that you only have a hit song, but it's a hit song associated with what every school boy and girl loves, summer, because there's no school. And just a good time. That must make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, well, the other song that I mentioned, "Seal with a Kiss," is also, though we got to say goodbye for the summer. It's also a summer type, theme to that also.
Right.
But I was just lucky to get that, the first one, Polka Dot Bikini, and that was it kicked the door open to the world of showbiz for me.
Right. Anthony, put that 45 cover up of Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny for me, please. Anthony.
Polka Dot Bikini contest volunteer judge.
The cover, Anthony, the picture. I just want to make a small comment on this. Picture number 2, Anthony. There you go. I got to ask you, and I'm very secure in my masculinity, so I can ask you, Brian, did you ever think about modeling because you have a model's face?
No, I never did. I never thought about that. I just, they said, stand over here, look this way, look down, look up, and my haircut, my hairstyle then was that was kind of the thing everybody had. But the problem with that is that, the minute you shook your head, it totally, collapsed. And you have to, so you're constantly working on your hairdo. And,
but that is very Elvis-like. That picture is very Elvis-ish.
Wow.
Very.
Well, I liked Elvis, so I guess maybe it came across.
Sure, Anthony. Let's play a little bit of the video "Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny" for our viewers.
Polka Dot Bikini contest volunteer judge. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. She was afraid to come out of the lock. She was as nervous as she could be. She was afraid to come out of the lock. She was afraid that somebody would say.
That's all we could play before we get into copyright problems, right?
Yeah.
So, Brian, right off the bat, the song sells 1 million copies, reaches number 1, and you get a gold record. Now, for those people who weren't around back then, to get a gold record, you needed to sell 1 million copies. Right. Today, you need to sell $1 million worth. So, to sell 1 million copies in 1960 without the web and was a very big feat for you.
Yeah, it was my second record, and I was right up there at the time. If you look at the chart from that week when I was actually number one, it was Elvis Presley was "It's Now or Never." That was the other, and Roy Orbison, "Only the Lonely," and Brenda Lee, "I'm Sorry." They were all in the top 10 at the same time.
You had good company.
Yes, I did.
Good company. Good company. Now, there was a song that you did called "Let Me Belong to You."
Right.
Did you pen that?
No, that was when I started working with these two songwriters, Gary Geld and Peter Udell, who also wrote "Ginny Come Lately" and they wrote "Sealed with a Kiss." They've written a lot of songs, and they wrote a couple of Broadway plays also. And but anyway, I met them in 1961, and I started working with them, and that record came out in 1961, and I switched labels, and I was on ABC Paramount. That was my first release on ABC Paramount Records.
ABC Paramount, of course, was a heavy hitter.
They were good, yeah. They were great. They were great, and they always pay royalties. Like I talked to Vito about that on the cruise, and you know, he was very happy about that.
Yeah, Vito makes mention of that pretty often. You also did some television. You were on To Tell the Truth.
That's right. I did that. That was like an afternoon. I've seen that video that's up on YouTube, and I remember that day when I was there, and of course I fooled them all too. Well, no, I'm sorry. I tried to fool them all. No, they guessed me though. Yeah, they got me.
Only a little bit from what I heard. Let's talk about "Sealed with a Kiss," which was another huge song. So, when you got "Sealed with a Kiss," were you hesitant because you didn't want to get locked into that summer type song, or was it automatically something you wanted to do?
No, I love that song. When I first heard it, there had been another record of that song a year before by a group called the Four Voices, but their version, it was good, but it was kind of in the theme of like the Brothers Four, like "Once There Were Green Fields," that kind of thing. So it was real slow and very acoustic kind of thing. Anyway, so when we did it, we made it more into a pop rock and roll thing, with the electric guitar and and also with the harmonica in there too. That was Blackie Schachtner. He played the harmonica on that record. And so and as far as the theme about the summer, I never really thought about that at the time. I just thought it was a good song.
Right, and it was a good song. It went to number 3 for you here in our country and also in England, and you wound up in the top 10 in Germany, which, from what my understanding was, for songs in Germany, the artist had to go and redo the songs in German to get their following. But "Sealed with a Kiss" was an English version.
Right. I actually, Gina, I actually did a German language recording of that. It was called "Schön war die Zeit," and I played gigs over there. And I talked to the guys in the band. They said, we didn't we liked the English version much better. So, in that sense, it didn't really. It was fun though doing it.
Now you don't speak German.
No, I don't know.
So how did you do it? Did you memorize it? Did you read it off a cue sheet?
No, the writers, the songwriters, Gary and Peter, they brought a guy in. I forget his name. And but he made a translation, which wasn't really literal, word for word what "Sealed with a Kiss" said, but it was just that theme, and so I guess that was probably why it wasn't as powerful of a story and everything in German, but that's what they did, and I just learned. He just taught me, how to sing the different. It was time consuming. I went over there a bunch of times to learn it, and before we actually did it, and then we used the actual track from the original, and we sneaked in.
Is that how you did it?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, in those days, with the union, I hate this. Everybody did it, but anybody that was like double tracking with that, I did the harmony part myself. But even when you're doing something like that, you had to kind of sneak around, and because the union, if they caught you, then they want you to do a whole other session, or it was ridiculous.
Right.
And they
Right.
finally got over that, and but it
Yeah.
was that was at the time, yeah.
Right. I'd like to play a little bit of "Sealed with a Kiss," Anthony, the video for our viewers. Another great song by Brian Hyland, ladies and gentlemen.
Gotta say goodbye for the summer. Darling, I promise you this. I'll send you all my love every day in a letter, sealed with a kiss. Guess it's gonna be a cold, lonely summer, but I'll fill the air.
Wow. Brian, I got to tell you, I was down there at Little Darlings when you were down there filming that, because I used to travel with Joey D a lot. I was Joey's road manager.
Yeah.
And I want you to make sure when this is over, you go back and see the comments, because some of the comments we got are, not only does Brian sound the same, he's still a cutie pie. What a handsome man. Our viewers are very forthcoming with their feelings. So you might want to go back and read the comments to let you know how much we appreciate you taking the time out to do this. People like you who haven't had a hit record in a couple of months, you don't get to do the Tonight Show anymore. Or, that's why we did these, because people don't know the Brian Hyland except for the 2 or 3 mega hits. And we want people to know the artist more so, which is why we do this. So I found an LP cover called The Bashful Blonde. Is this reminiscent of your personality?
Well, I'll tell you the story on that. There was this, we used to do a record hop at St. Michael's, and it was in Brooklyn, and it was a really big record hop. And I used to, everybody would go there, and there was probably maybe 1,000 people or more every week. And so there was a priest there, Father Emery, and so he was, he was a really cool guy, and he liked rock and roll, and he was, right with it. And so I went down there when couple of times I went there, he just kind of pegged that onto me, saying he thought I was kind of shy because I was, I guess I was, and looking out at the crowd and thinking, oh, I've got to go out on that stage. And but he, after Yellow Polka Dot Bikini became a hit, right away, he called up the record company and he said, "That's the Bashful Blonde," and they said, "Oh, that's a good title." So then they used that for the title, but it was Father Emery's idea.
Wow. Does he know that he gave the inspiration for that? Did you ever keep in contact with him?
I don't know. No, I haven't. I never saw him again after those years. And no, I never did.
Wow. Well, we thank him for coming up with that moniker, because it really fits you well. Let's go back to. I'm jumping around a little bit, if you don't mind.
That's all right.
Last week we had Jimmy Clanton on the show.
Right.
And you were in Dallas, Texas in November of '63.
That's right.
Were you on the same tour as Jimmy?
Yes, I was. And on that particular show and that night, I mean, we didn't actually do the show because it was canceled, but we played the night before up in Wichita, Kansas. So we drove all night to get down there to Dallas, and it was raining all night. Got down there, and when we got into Dallas, the sun came out. It was a beautiful day. And so we all, we checked into the hotel. The hotel was pretty close to, where all that happened. Anyway, so somehow or another, we found out that there was going to be a motorcade, and the president was going to be in the motorcade, and it was just a couple of blocks from the hotel. So I had a camera. I brought it with me, and I got a couple of the guys from the Dovells and Myron Lee, he had the band that was backing up the whole show. So him and the Dovells, we walked up a couple of blocks up there, and we waited, and then we heard like a commotion, and it got louder and louder, and we heard the motorcycles coming by, and then there it was, President Kennedy and Jackie, and they went by, and I could see Jackie, but I saw President Kennedy's hair just as they went by, and and then a couple of blocks later, they pulled into Dealey Plaza and made that turn, and everybody knows what happened.
Right. A very shameful moment in American history, to say the least. And it's funny how you just mentioned the Dovells. They're going to be on our show next week. So in three weeks in a row, we had Jimmy Clanton, yourself, and the Dovells. And so far, everybody's story is the same, which is great. Yeah. And of course, we lost Len just a few weeks ago.
I know. Len was a nice, really nice person. I had the opportunity later on, I guess around 1990, I think it was around 1990 or 91, that Len and Chris Montez and myself did a tour over in the UK, and was like a month and a half. We were over there one-nighters every night, and played all over the England, and I guess we played in Wales, and I don't know if we played Scotland. Anyway, but so I got to know Len on that tour pretty good, and he was a great guy. I really liked him.
Yeah, that's all we hear is nice things about Len. You also hosted, which not too many people did, an episode of American Bandstand. How did that come about?
That just, that's funny that you should mention that, because I don't think they didn't save the tapes from a lot of those shows, and I never even saw it myself.
What year was that?
I guess it was around 63 or 6, probably around 63, I guess. Yeah, somewhere in there. Anyway, so what happened was they just called my manager's office. That at the time I had a manager, and and they said, could Brian come down and do this? I think Roy Orbison did it maybe a couple of weeks or a week before, and Dick Clark every summer would take a vacation, and they'd bring in different people to do that. And when he was in Philly, I guess most likely. And anyway, so that was pretty cool. I was Dick Clark for one day.
That's hysterical.
That was nice.
That's sure. Do you remember who the guest was? Because there was always live guests.
I think I was the guest too.
Did you get double pay?
No, I didn't. No.
That's great. I want to jump right back to the Kennedy incident because in 1970 you released an album and you had written a song about that incident called Mail Order Gun.
Right. Well, let me just interrupt you there, Gene. That was I saw that headline or that phrase in the newspapers when I was down there, and later too. I guess it was later, and a mail order gun, and that stuck in my head. And so then, when I was in California around, I guess it was 1970, and I was working with Del Shannon, and I just one afternoon I just came up with that, but the story has nothing to do with that. It was just that line that I got from that newspaper, So it has nothing to do with that.
Oh, so the title came from that, but not the song.
No, correct. Yeah, that's right.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, is that album available, or is that song available through any of your CDs on your website?
It's on that CD called Brian Hyland. That was the name of the CD, and that CD has Gypsy Woman on it, and it has a whole bunch of other songs, a lot of songs that I wrote with Del, and we also did the song "The Thrill Is Gone." And we did Lonely Teardrops, Jackie Wilson tune.
Right.
Yeah.
When you did, you're going from Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny and Seal with a Kiss to by the Impressions and Lonely Teardrops by Jackie Wilson, probably two of the greatest soul singers in history. Did you feel like you were going into uncharted territory at that time by doing it?
Not really. I always, I just thought if I just, in my own mind, I just thought if you like a song, do it. And I tried to put a little different spin on both of those, on Gypsy Woman especially, and Jackie Wilson tune. I saw Jackie Wilson doing that at the Brooklyn Paramount. I was on the show there. I think Tony Orlando was on it, Raul Donner, and Curtis Lee, and of course the headliner was Jackie Wilson, and also Jerry Lee Lewis was on that show. Etta James was there. Yeah.
Co-headlining.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was it was like going to rock and roll high school, really. See, I would watch every time, every show. I'd be backstage watching, like picking up little things about how performance things.
You got on the job training, is what you got.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Did you see the interview we did with Vito Picone 2 months? Did you see it?
I watched a little bit of it, and I like Vito. He always reminds me of Rodney. Rodney Dangerfield.
He had a poster behind him of one of the shows the Elegance was on, and when he went through the lineup, you could not afford to have that kind of a show today.
Yeah.
20 acts, all with hit records, and the funny part was there were no egos. There were no egos back then. I think everybody knew they were into something very good, so they wanted to make the best out of it, if I'm correct.
You're right. You're right. There weren't any egos, and everybody treated everybody else with dignity and with respect. And I always felt that on any of those rock and roll shows, and even on the tours, it was like us against the world. Everybody was like together. And there wasn't any, any kind of thing about, race or anything like that. And, it was just, we were having a lot of fun too. That was another thing.
Too bad we can't get back to those days right now.
I know. I miss it.
Yeah. So you were also ahead of your time when you delved into the folk country genre in '63. You released two albums. Anthony, show picture number 5 and 6, please. You had an album called Rock and Folk. And then the next one you put out was Country Meets Folk. And
right.
This was not normal for a kid from Queens.
No.
How did
you know what? Yeah. I was always kind of attracted to country music because I liked the guitars. I was always, it fascinated me. And I guess when I was really very young, there was a station I would hear from West Virginia. I think it was WWVA, and I would hear that at night. And I loved to listen to that station. And anyway, so I was always kind of attracted to country music, and you know what, being on a tour, one of those tours, the first one I did actually with Del Shannon and the Belmonts were on the tour. It was the 3 acts, the 3 of us, and I remember the Belmonts were talking to Del about Hank Williams, and I couldn't, it was like a mind expanding experience, and they knew all these Hank Williams songs. I guess Dion also was a Hank Williams fan, and I guess it was just they were good songs, and at that time there was also a lot of country songs that crossed over, like for instance Hello Walls. I love that song. Yeah, that was a big hit. And then like the El Paso and a lot of those, they were kind of broke into both markets. They were crossover hits. Yeah,
right. So when you did the folk, did you record it in L.A.?
No, I did that in New York, and actually we recorded both of those albums. All those tunes, pretty much in probably a two week period of time, and then they split them up onto 2 different labels. Because right then I switched over to Philips Records.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Unbelievable. And then in 1963, you got to play one of New York's most legendary clubs, the Cafe Wha, and you co-headlined with a unknown Richard Pryor.
That's right. Yeah, Richard Pryor.
So,
He was a really funny guy, and I knew that he was going to really go somewhere. You could tell, when you watched him, he was so unique, and he was so off the wall about it. He would, just say anything, and of course, he had his set lines that he did, but he'd always mix them up and do different things. And we shared a dressing room there at the Cafe Watt. It was like a broom closet.
well, there was only one dressing room there at the Cafe Watt.
Yeah, you had to walk in sideways into the dressing room. It was very small. Yeah.
He was something else, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was great. Yeah.
Yeah, something else. Did you ever get to do any of your folk songs live, or were they strictly albums?
Well, I did them on the album. Yeah. Well, and I did them at the Cafe Wa. That was why I got booked there. And I did a whole bunch of those tunes that we did. And it was actually the band that I worked with there, a couple of guys, and they were really good musicians. And so it was, folk music was really happening with Bob Dylan and with a lot of other, different Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Kingston Trio, and the folk music was kind of coming up there. And it was, I always kind of liked the songs, the words of a lot of the country songs and the folk songs, and they were different than rock and roll, which was rock and roll, and it was like
Right.
Good Golly Miss Molly and stuff like that, and but folk music had its place though.
Give me a typical Sunday afternoon in the Brian Hyland household when you're vegging out, having your coffee. What do you listen to?
Right now, you mean right this moment?
Yeah, what's hitting you right now?
Well, I like there's a singer that I've kind of listened to lately, Haley Reinhardt, and she's really good, and she reminds me of a lot of other different singers, but she hasn't really had a hit record yet. But I mean, a hit album or a hit single,
Right.
but I think she's gonna make it big. But I listen to a lot of different stuff. I listen to bossa nova music from I listen to Bad Company. I listen to the what is it? The Four Freshmen. I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Beach Boys. I listen to Elvis. All kinds of different things. I listen to anything.
You're
And
all
here's
over-
the thing. Another thing that I got to say is that whenever I'm with at somebody's house or anything like that, I always say, play what you like, and then I'll learn a new song that I never heard of before. So I always try to do that. Pick up new ideas.
Absolutely. As an artist, if you're boxed in, then you can't grow.
That's right.
So being a music aficionado myself, I did Elvis for 40 years, and people would play Elvis, and I say, no, I know Elvis. Play something else,
Right.
Or if I go to an Irish friend's house and he makes me baked ziti and meatballs, no, my wife makes that. Make me, corned beef. Make me something that you make.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So between 63 and 65 and 66, were you still touring? Were you mainly writing?
I was at that time in my life, I was working a lot of those Dick Clark Caravan of Stars tours, and it was I did like 2 a year, and they were long tours, so I kept working and doing one-nighters, and a lot of the promoters, when you did those tours, they would come to those shows. And then it was like a long, like a menu, and they say, "Oh, so then I was at William Morris Agency. So after those tours, and they would get calls from a different place, and they say, "We want you to go here this guy wants to have you for a one-nighter," and so that worked out good for me. The exposure, I guess. Yeah.
Right. So suffice to say, you've never had a 9-to-5 job.
No, I'm just doing music. Yeah, okay. I love it.
Great. That's a great success story in my book. Now we're going to play a clip, and no disrespect to Sealed with a Kiss or Itsy Bitsy, but probably my favorite Brian Hyland song, The Joker Went Wild. Oh, Anthony, please.
a thought, always a cane. 'Cause I just captured someone's heart.
You know, I wish we could play more and more, but we can't. But that's probably my favorite song that you've done that was a hit. I am going to go revisit all your albums. Probably I like that song because it's the only one I could probably sing. It's in my register. But, you know, you're in a very elite group of people who had hits pre-Beatles and pro-Beatles. 1970, we used to play the Joker Wild. You had a big hit with Gypsy Woman. There's not too many people who could say they had a career after the British invasion. But you're amongst an elite group. And we talked about that song before. What drew you to that song, Gypsy Woman?
Gypsy Woman?
Yeah.
Well, at the time, I was working with Del Shannon. We had recorded another song right before that. It was kind of a doo-wop song called "Could You Dig It," and I wrote that one with Del. And so then we had a contract. That song got me a contract with Weeny Records, MCA. So they said do another session. So we had a couple of songs of our songs that we had written. And then we saw at the last minute, we thought, well, if those don't come out, we've got to have an ace in the hole. So we had two guitars and we're just going back and forth different songs. And, this one, no, that's not good. And then all of a sudden, like Gypsy Woman just came out of nowhere. I said, Gypsy Woman, yeah, we're going to do Gypsy Woman. That's going to be it. And sure enough, when we finished the session and we played it for the people up at the record company, they said, Gypsy Woman, that's the one. And it wasn't any doubt about it. So, and it was a million seller, actually. I got a gold record for that, RIAA gold record for it.
You know, I got to tell you, I don't think the Impressions got a gold record on that. I think you beat
I don't know.
the Impressions. Yeah. That's incredible to do that. And then, of course, Ginny Come Lately was another one. We couldn't find any video, but that's another catchy song that really solidified your sound, Ginny Come Lately.
Yeah. That was right before Sealed with a Kiss. It was the record preceding Sealed with a Kiss. And actually, it went up to, I think, number 20 on the Billboard charts. And but it kind of cool because over in Europe, in Germany and in Holland and in England, Scotland, Ireland, all those places, it was a big hit, and it was like up in the top 10 in a lot of those countries. So when Sealed with a Kiss came out, I had 2 hits in a row, and so that really solidified, my my career over there in a certain way. So that was really good, good for me.
Yeah, but what's more amazing is that years later they backed Sealed with a Kiss and Ginny Come Lately again and re-released it, and it became a number 5 or 7 hit 13 years after the original release.
That's right. And that was in 1975 when that happened. And I was out at the time, I was doing some shows on Indian reservations with an Indian band named Exit, and they're all from Gallup and Albuquerque. And they were really a good band. And I got booked. They booked it, and we played a lot of the Navajo reservation. We played a bunch of different ones. So we took a little time off and went to my wife at the time, Rosemary. We went to her granddad's house just to hang out. And while I was there, I got a phone call from a promoter in England named Henry Sellers, and he said, "Brian, are you sitting down?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Your record, Sealed with a Kiss, is in the top 10. Can you come over and do Top of the Pops," which was their big show of all, the records that were in the top 10 or whatever.
Right.
And so I and I didn't even had no clue that it had re-released it or anything. It was just out of the blue. And plus, I think what made it more desirable single for people like music fans was that it had Ginny Come Lately, like you said, that was on the flip. So I went over and I did that show, and it was, it was really amazing. Yeah.
So tell us about this Indian band. Were you Brian Hyland, hit maker, working with this Indian band, or were you like trying to collaborate?
No. I was Brian Hyland, who had Gypsy Woman. I think they said Gypsy Woman was huge on the reservations. It was a very big hit there, and so and they all knew me and from the other songs too. Because I'll tell you a funny story. I talked to a couple of people there at that time, and guys from the reservation, Indian guys, and they said, "Listen, I said, did you ever watch American Bandstand?" He says, "Man, every day we get out of school, we rush home to watch American Bandstand." So American Bandstand was like big everywhere, and that brought a lot of people into that whole music scene of, pop music. And it was really a great thing for the music business.
It's amazing how you take for granted the words music is universal, but it really is. That your songs are big, not that they're not great songs, but to be big on reservations,
right?
It's and not even Itsy Bitsy. You're talking some of your more in-depth compositions that had some more depth to them, that they were the ones that they were drawn to. I mean, that's amazing in itself. When you did Top of the Pops, were you the only act on the show?
No, there was a lot of people on that show. I thought about that, and I can't remember really the other people on it, but it was. I'm kind of thinking maybe that group from Scotland was on it. I can't remember
ABBA?
the name, but
ABBA?
No, not ABBA. No, I'll tell you, that girl in ABBA, I think her name is the blonde girl in ABBA. She did a version of "Sealed with a Kiss," and it was great. It was a great version, and I like it the best of all the different ones that covers of Sealed.
I think her name is
Agnetha. I think her name is
Agnes.
Agnetha.
We got to look for that. So at this time, you were bouncing around between New Orleans and Oregon. Where did you find the most inspiration for your writing? When you lived in a certain place, did you find inspiration somewhere?
Well, when I was down in New Orleans, it was I was working down there with Alan Toussaint, and Alan, he Southern Nights. He's written all kinds of Mother-in-Law. He did all those records with Lee Dawsey, and I mean. He was like a giant hit-making machine there in New Orleans. And I wrote a part of a song when I was down there, and I played it for Alan. And it was a song that I just released this summer, or a couple of months back, called "You Got a Message." And I played a little bit of that for Alan when I first started working on that song, and he said, "Yeah, I think you got something there." So that kind of inspired me, and I finished the song, but then I kind of I just let it walk, I just left it and didn't really think about it. And then recently I kind of reworked it in my studio here and put it out, and it's up on Apple Music, and it's on Spotify too. So people can check it out.
Great. Yeah, we're going to be pushing a lot of that. You worked with one of the most creative and what's the word I'm looking for? Wacky people in the business when you worked with Rick Danko. Rick was a very eclectic person, for lack of a better word. How was it working with him?
Well, that's a funny story, and that has to do with that same song, "You Got a Message," because I that was on a tape which I gave to a producer, Rob Frabroni, out in California, and I had a song on there called "Sapphire Blue." It's kind of a weird story, and so he was working with Jennifer Warnes at the time, and I thought maybe Jennifer Warnes could do the song "Sapphire Blue." I had that was on the same tape, and so I gave it to him, and then when he listened to it, Rick Danko was in the room, and Rick Danko, he said, "This song, You Got a Message. I like this song." And he says, "We got another demo on this. up at our studio at Shangri-La Studios over there in Malibu. So so I met him at that time, and he was a really nice person, and I always like his vocal harmonizing with Levon, on all the the band things, and
Right.
he was also a great bass player. If you watch him, he's like flawless. What he does.
Well,
He was good.
he's definitely talented. He's talented, beyond a doubt. Beyond a doubt. Now there's a CD out called Greatest Hits, and something that's very rare is that there are songs from all your different labels on one CD.
Right.
Did you broker that deal? How did that happen? Because that's unheard of.
They just I think most of the thing is that most of those labels that I was on, with the exception of maybe one maybe, were all accumulated and by Universal Records. They bought those different companies one at a time, and it was like ABC Paramount. They bought and Uni, the stuff I did there, and then also Phonogram, which would have been Philips, and so they all just got on there. Just I guess it was just by accident, or just a corporate thing. Yeah.
Well, we're lucky to have an accident like that, because normally people have to go to all different extents to get the best of somebody's career, but we could get it all in one compilation. You wound up doing some duets with a singer out of Deutschland, Albert West. I'm not familiar with Albert's work. Were you familiar when Albert reached out to you and said,
"No, I wasn't." Actually, Gene, he was from Holland. He was from, that's where he lived. And he did a lot of work in Germany, and I'm sure he worked all over that area. Anyway, so I was contacted. It was right after I did that Little Darlings, with a couple of those clips that you played, that were from there, where I did, So I guess they saw that somehow, and then I was contacted by his manager, and he had recorded a version of "Ginny Come Lately," which was a hit for him in that market in Holland. And I don't know if he did it in English or if he did it in Dutch, I guess it would be the proper word. But anyway, so they said, come over, and we're doing an album of compilations with of duets with other singers. And he had a couple of other people. I think there was a British girl singer, Helen Shapiro. She was one of the artists on there. And also Albert Hammond, that had It Only Rains in Southern California. So he did a couple of songs with him, and then I think we did 3 tracks. We did Seal with a Kiss, Ginny Come Lately, and Polka Dot Bikini. And I think also they released Polka Dot Bikini as a single, and I went over there and did a couple of TV shows with him. He was a nice guy. Actually, he passed away, and it's kind of a sad story. Yeah, he was a very nice person, though.
Well, we wish everybody well that passes on to rock and roll heaven.
Yeah.
Let's play a couple of seconds of Gypsy Woman. I skipped over that. So, Anthony, the last video, Gypsy Woman, please, for our viewers.
From nowhere to a caravan around the campfire light. Lovely woman in motion, hair as dark as night. Her eyes were like that of a cat in the dark that hypnotized me with love.
Great. Love that song, Brian. Love that song. You proved that a person of ethnic persuasion could do a song by the Impressions, which is great. Which is great. So now, as I read above you, your son tours with you?
Yeah, my son Bodie. And he's my drummer. He's my drummer, and he's also, he's like my road manager too. So he takes care of a lot of stuff. Yeah, he's great.
And how old is Bodie?
Bodie's like 39 years old now.
when did he start working with you?
Well, when we first started going out, well, after he was born, when he got up to be about, I guess, about 7 or something like that, we took him on some gigs. And then I thought, well, I'll bring him up on stage and he can do 2, 3, 4, tell people what you wore when I was doing Polka Dot Bikini. And so he got right into it, and he wasn't bashful. And it was actually very good for him. It gave him a lot of confidence, self-confidence. And but then, like, at that time, I started, and we were going to do a lot of shows in the Midwest, a lot of them with Bobby V and different people, Tommy Rowe. And so I was watching him from the side of the stage, and he was always watching the drummers when, watching their, how they played and just the whole thing. And so I thought maybe he'd like to get a set of drums. And I asked him, and he said, yeah, I want a set of drums. So got him a set of these they're kind of cut down for kids drums from Remo. They make this special set for kids. And I talked to a drummer at the same time, and he said, listen, if you get a big set of, regular size drums, he'll get discouraged, and because they can't hit the pedals and do all that stuff correctly. Okay. So the Remo drums were perfect. And so I didn't know how to play the drums or anything about it. So I just taught him my set. So we had I had my amp in this one room where we practiced and stuff. And so we just, ran through stuff that I do and he'd been hearing. And so we just ran through it. And then eventually, I brought him up to do a couple of songs with me. And the first couple of songs we did the song, Everly Brothers song, Claudette. That was one of the ones we did. And we worked that out really good. And so he would come up and play that with me. And
wow.
Then at a certain point in time, he says, listen, I want to do the whole set. So that was it. And from that day on, he's doing my whole set, and he does it great. He's a great drummer.
Is he a musician by trade now for a living?
Oh, no, he just works with me. Yeah, he's done a lot of different things. He worked for DirecTV for a while, and he's done a lot of different things. Yeah.
Right. So I want to make one more point. Then I'm going to ask 2 questions that I ask all my guests. From a singer that was associated with Summer, you went to the other side of the spectrum, and you recorded songs for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the movie.
That's right.
So now,
that's right.
Now you're in both seasons. Both seasons.
That's good. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What did you wind up doing for the movie?
Well, that was there's a Michael Lloyd put that together. He's a producer. He's done a lot of work, and he's very he's very very well known, and he's done a lot of good work. And he's good friends with Johnny Tillotson, Tommy Rowe, and also Freddie Cannon. So he called us up, and they had this Christmas project that we did first. That it was for the Children's Hospital in San Diego, and we did one of those. And then he put that other thing together, which was for Rudolph, and it was, I forget the name of that song, but it was a pretty cool song. So we all were out there at his studio, which is at his house. He has like a bungalow in the back of his house, and he has a very professional studio there. And we laid that down, and they put it in that movie. And I think there's a scene in the movie where it's played, and so that was pretty nice.
Sure, absolutely. To be included in a Christmas movie that's played every year is the same as having a summer song. It's great.
Right. Correct.
Brian, two things I like to ask my guests. Number one, are you in the process, or have you ever thought about writing your memoirs down and publishing a book?
Well, I've thought of that, and I've seen other people, have done that. And, I've kind of shy away from it at this point in time because I'm still doing my life. And but I have a pretty good memory. I can remember a lot of things of, of those early tours and, all the different things of people I met, circumstances, different countries that I've been to. And so, at some point, maybe I'll, think about it maybe more seriously. But right now I'm just, doing my thing.
Of course, you're only halfway through with everything. The second thing I want to ask is, has there anything you haven't done that you've wanted to do?
Well, there's like two things that stand out, like writing a song that's a hit song, that's still a goal that I have. That and I'm writing stuff and writing different, have some things out, and we also just released a version of I'll Do My Crying in the Rain, Carole King and Howard Greenfield song. It was a Everly Brothers, and did that one, and that's come out, and but that's one thing, and the other thing is kind of bugs me, and I'd like to at some point do some gigs down in Australia and New Zealand, because I've been in that region of the world in Southeast Asia. I played in Singapore, Hong Kong, played in Bangkok and Kuala Lumpur and all, that area, but I never got down there to Australia. I always wanted to go.
Right. Well, it's very funny that you said that, because we have one of my friends and followers, a young lady named Sonia, who's watching this right now, who's from Australia, and she's hooked up with a couple of promoters. She had talked about getting me down there, which unfortunately didn't happen. But when this whole virus starts to go away, if we could do anything to help you facilitate that, all you got to do is ask, Brian, and we will do what we can to get you down under.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you. And I also want to say thank you for including me in your broadcast. And you're really doing a really cool thing for a lot of the artists from the 60s, 50s. And it's nice that you do that.
Well, I thank you very much for agreeing. And if you had fun, which I hope you did, maybe you could speak to some of your fellow performers and tell them what a good time we had and a good job I do. I try to do everything with some fun and some class. So it gives people a venue to speak about things. We had so many comments of people that didn't know that you did bandstand, you did this, so now they know. And the song you did was "Come on a Sleigh Ride with Me."
That's it. You're right.
That's
the
song.
I couldn't get that one. I couldn't bring that up in my mind.
Which is on the CBS FM CD, the compilation. So it's played every year in the DiNapoli household, just so you know. But Brian, we want to thank you so much. Everybody, please go to brianhyland.com. Check out Brian's entire website. Send him a message. Check out his merchandise. And Brian, thank you so much. I'm going to keep in touch with you. I'd love to see what you're doing. And if we can promote anything you do to our fans, all you have to do is ask. All right?
Thank you, Gene. Thank you.
You got Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And ladies and gentlemen, let's give Mr. Brian Hyland a big round of applause. Thank you, Brian. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure. Well, everybody, how was that for another great episode with Brian Hyland? Unbelievable. Before we speak about our sponsors again, I'd like to say hello to my dear friend Bobby Anselmo, who was hit with the virus and just got released from the hospital today. So we want to wish Bobby a very healthy recovery. And on a personal note, I'd like to dedicate this show today to my uncle. My Uncle Joe passed away this morning at the beautiful age of 92. He was my father's brother. He wasn't a distant uncle. He was an uncle that I dealt with. He took me to my first Yankee game. My Uncle Joe was a very special man, and I hope he is hanging out with my father now up in heaven or wherever they have a bar up there because that's where my dad will be. So, Uncle Joe, I hope you have a safe journey. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, sundrencedcruises.com for the best in travel, sweetheal.com for CBD products, tranfrancisco.com for your CPA and accounting needs, Pure Organic Dry Cleaners, 3166 Tremont Avenue in the Bronx, Anthony's Gift Baskets. For those of you that can't be with your loved ones, send a gift basket. It means a lot. San Martino Restaurant in Yonkers, New York, and Angelina's Restaurant in Tuckahoe, New York. We want to thank our sponsors. Thank you, everybody. We're going to read the comments. Follow us on Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli. Join my YouTube channel at Gene DiNapoli by hitting the subscribe button. The next time we see you will be next Monday. We have the fabulous Dovells. Mark Stevens and Jerry Gross will be our guests next week. And, of course, we're going to send that out to Len Barry. Thank you all, everybody. Merry Christmas. Whatever you celebrate, may it be filled with harmony, peace, love, happiness, and good food. Until next time we see you, stay safe, stay positive, stay well, and God bless you. Take care, everybody.